Chef and author Marie-Rolfe Lamontagne is joining me in studio. Now she's going to introduce us to her brand new book, Eats, which tells you that you should actually be using your leftovers in your meals. Hello.
Absolutely. Hello.
How are you?
Great.
Good. Well, I'm actually excited to hear about this. What is the inspiration and motivation behind Eats?
Everyone asks me that. I think it's from my mother when I was a little girl saying she was going to send all my leftovers to India, but no, actually it's not that at all. I think it's from living in South Africa. Mm-hmm. I am from Montreal in Canada, and I am living in South Africa, and I train chefs and change menus on game farms.
Okay.
And actually, one time we were on this game farm in Botswana, and all the food got eaten by a bunch of hyenas that came through, and monkeys and all the rest. So
oh no.
Yeah, and food gets delivered once a week.
Right.
And so you have to be really creative. So we went through the pantries and whatever, and I came up with this butternut squash cake for tea, and that was sort of the beginning. And then I started thinking, oh, wow, we should actually be using our fruits and vegetables a little more and be a little more creative.
Yeah.
And that's how the whole process started. And then I started this 5 years ago, this whole thought process, and we weren't talking about food waste back then as much as we are today.
Yeah.
And it's just all sort of evolved over time.
Are we talking about food waste enough in South Africa?
You know what? It's very different from North America. So food waste in North America, it's really buying too much food and just wasting it as a consumer. In South Africa, it's really all aspects. We do waste it as consumers, and as we make more money, we buy more stuff, and we're becoming more global, so we actually want to buy lots of different things that we're not used to having, but then we don't know how to prepare it. So what I'm discovering is that we actually don't know how to cook anymore. Our grandparents and our great-grandparents, whatever, we're not learning how to cook. It's so much, we don't have enough time, and we're so busy, and the internet, and this and that, and then we just don't have time to cook. And even though there's some amazing cooking shows and all the rest, we actually don't know the basics on how to deal with a rotting tomato or carrot or whatever, and how we can actually use it in a positive way or store it properly.
How do we learn those basics?
You buy my book.
See what I did there?
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Me. Thank you. Actually, there's lots of different ways, and the first is to take an interest in it and to learn, because we're the consumer, and we actually need to know more ourselves to then ask the questions. It's like the sell-by dates.
Yeah.
You know, people go, well, you know, how do we know it's good or bad? I'm like, well, we have a nose, we have taste buds, we have eyes. Why can't we actually just check it ourselves instead of worrying so much about those special little dates? Those are for the stores themselves, and that's why they have to throw them out, because there are all these rules and regulations. But as a consumer, I think we just have to taste that yogurt. And first of all, yogurt, it lasts forever.
It does
full
last
of bacteria.
Forever. Exactly.
You know?
Especially sealed yogurt.
Absolutely. And there are lots of things like that. And I mean, soured milk, God knows, everyone makes that to make their beers. So, you know, I mean, there are all these sort of things that we think we can't eat because it's going to make us sick. But in fact, they're fine. And like those shriveled carrots, you know, you find those little shriveled carrots at the bottom of your veggie drawer because you've just forgotten about them. Well, actually, there are lots of different ways to use that and use them, and one of them is to roast them up. And you can actually roast them. And in my book here, I have roasted maple ginger carrots.
That sounds delicious.
Yeah, it's really good. But then afterwards, with leftovers, if you don't eat them all, you can actually make a really yummy carrot cake. And so that's the whole basis of this book.
Well, that's exactly what it is. You have one recipe, and then recipes that can follow up on the leftovers from that original recipe.
Exactly.
So,
and it's basic. It's really basic.
Yeah.
It's teaching people how to poach, how to roast, how to saute, how to do all those basic things that we are forgetting how to do. And I mean, roasted tomatoes, it's so easy. And what I do is I have a veggie garden here, which I never had before. I lived in France, in Paris. I've always lived in cities. And so all of a sudden, I now live where I can have a veggie garden. So I've started growing, and it's really hard to grow a veggie garden. So I always tell someone to plant either a fresh herb or something so that they can appreciate how difficult it is to grow fruits and vegetables, because that's what we as South Africans throw out the most. Actually, around the world, globally.
Fruits and vegetables.
Fruits and vegetables are the #1 things that we throw out.
Is this because we think that they just go off quickly, or
they do actually go off? We don't know how to store them. We don't have the proper storage facilities, or we just don't know what to do with them. And then another thing is, once we see them get a little shriveled or whatever, we just throw them out.
Toss them.
Yes.
When you say we don't know how to store them, are you supposed to store fruits and vegetables?
Well, for example, everyone throws tomatoes in the fridge. Well, in fact, they shouldn't be in the fridge. They should just be on the counter, and then when they start to get some little spots, you can actually cut the spots away and eat it, or slice up the tomato or cut up the little rosa tomatoes and throw them in the oven with a little olive oil and sea salt and roast them, and then use them either in a vegetable dish, in a pasta dish, or you can actually just put it in a blender, make a sauce, and throw it in the freezer and have a tomato sauce whenever you need it. I mean, those are, and you know, people go, I don't have enough time. I said, well, how much time do you spend on Facebook? How much time do you spend on the internet? And you know what? Just bring your computer into the kitchen,
and you can still
Facebook, do stuff on the computer and roast those vegetables.